Hi, sweet friend. How are you? I wanted to share today a pretty dramatic aha moment I had about one of the most painful times in my life, like one of the most traumatic times in my life, which there's been better than this, but this is one of the big T ones, right? And so, giving a little backstory of how I even got there, as I started studying shadow work and, these parts of us that are unconscious, that certain wounding causes us to act out in a certain way, and certain needs are met by doing that. It's completely unconscious, right? And oftentimes it's the thing that we hate the most in our life. It's the thing we hate the most in other people. So I started studying it pretty deeply in the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years. And I started thinking through one of the most painful times of my life, which was when I started having really debilitating chronic pain and started living in my bed. So, a little backstory was I was a year into my marriage. I'd gotten married because we felt shame for having sex. I was working at a church. And at the time, to be honest, I didn't really believe a lot of the things that I was teaching. It was a very disassociated state. I was kind of regurgitating a lot of what other people told me about God and their experiences with God, but I had not at that time had any of those experiences. I'm also leading young girls, telling them about sexual purity and not to have sex before marriage. So I felt like a complete fraud. I had so much shame. I thought by getting married, a lot of that would go away. And then, had this idea that that would like fix certain parts of me and I would feel better about myself once I got married. Of course, none of that happened. We're so cute. Oh, dear God. So I'm not really liking my marriage, but I couldn't speak about that. I had this big permagrin talking about it, right? I definitely don't like my job. I've not done any work around dying in a car accident and being so traumatized by any of that or any childhood work. So I had no tools to handle pain, dysregulation, any of that. So all of a sudden, I'm in this debilitating pain. It starts a year into my marriage. The shooting pain would go up my neck and I would feel like I was going to pass out or throw up. It was so debilitating. So I start going to all these doctors. We can't quite figure out what's causing this pain, which we learn later down the road that one of the wires from my previous spinal cord surgery had broken and pierced my brainstem. So this physiological pain is real. It is very, very, very real, right? And I end up going to a doctor. They end up putting me on narcotics, which I had never had drank. I had never done a drug. I loved it. I get to lay in bed and watch TV all day and eat my feelings and eat junk food. Loved. I don't have to show up to a life that I don't really like very much, to be really honest with you, or a job that I don't really like very much. I was just going through the motions, trying to be a good girl and trying to be a good wife. And all of a sudden, all those responsibilities go away. I'm miserable because I'm in so much pain. And there's a shadow piece of me that actually really loved it. That sounds crazy, but I got to stop showing up to a life I don't like. I got to numb out on narcotics and junk food and TV, and no one's asking anything of me. No one. Also, this little girl needed me to be taken care of that didn't get a lot of needs met as a child. All of a sudden, people are bringing me meals. People feel really sorry for me. People ask nothing of me, but just want to take care of me. As miserable as I was, I also loved it. Of course, that wasn't conscious. Of course, I wasn't aware of any of this, but some need in me was being met. I was getting taken care of, and I didn't have to show up to a life, and I didn't have to do things I didn't want to do. This pain got me out of doing so many things that I did not want to do, but I didn't feel like I had the right to quit or say no or to walk away from. And so, as crazy as it sounds, when you start really delving into shadow work, needs are being met, or else we wouldn't have these consistent patterns showing up, right? I mean, I was telling some friends over the weekend, like chronic pain for 30 something years has gotten me out of so many things I don't want to do. Is the pain real? Did I die in a car accident and, have C1, C2, C3 fused? And, I can name a million health things that have happened. Yeah, yeah, it's real. No one, I am not denying anyone's physiological state. And the more I do this work and commune with these parts, because we can't shame them, shame only makes them laugh. Me hating my life or hating the pain or hating, all these parts, of course, it only makes them burrow down and be more in the driver's seat. We get to learn how to bring love and care to these needs that were being met unconsciously. And that's how we get to like kind of romance the shadow out, that something was actually really serving me, or else I wouldn't have stayed in that for 7 years. I stayed in that for 7 years, living in a bed in a marriage that was painful and just so many traumatic things. And so what I am so excited to share with you, and actually we're going to do a class this Thursday for all my paying Substack members, is how do we begin romancing the shadow? How do we become conscious of these unconscious things that are driving our lives? Like Carl Jung says, until the unconscious becomes conscious, we'll have the same result over and over and call it fate. We just think that's how life has to be, but it doesn't. So I would be so excited to share more about this with you. And there's so many tools and things that I will share that have been so impactful for me. And I would love, love, love to have you on Thursday. Sending so much love. And I love the part of you. I love the part of you that you have shamed, that you've hated. That part deserves so much love. That wise part of you deserves so much love. Sending it all to you, sweet friends.